Time is running out. This is the final drive of 2025 at Capital Ford. It's your last shot of the year to grab massive dealer discounts, year-end factory incentives, and aggressive trade-in offers. Like a new 25 Ford Explorer with 0% APR for 60 months. Or 0% APR for 60 months plus no payments for 90 days on a new 25 Ford F-150. So hurry for these exceptional end-of-year offers during the final drive of 2025 at Capital Ford in Santa Fe.
Hey, welcome in to another live episode of the Pit Press Live. I am your host, Eric Moulton, coming to you live from Farmington, New Mexico. What's up, Ed? How are you doing tonight, man?
Good, Eric. You're doing great, man. I'm glad you made it back. I made it back from Silver City last night. Told you I was covering Western New Mexico versus Eastern New Mexico yesterday. Greyhounds come out on top. Very physical in-state rivalry game. Lone Star Conference battle for the top. And Eastern came out on top 93-85. So long drive back last night, but glad to be home.
Good to hear. We need to get someone on from Eastern and Western and talk about that rivalry, but talk about that conference. I know you're always raving about the competition at the D2 level. Can't be discounted, man. There's a lot of transferring going on within college hoops these days, and good basketball is good basketball.
Yeah, no doubt.
But just want to give a quick shout out to some of our sponsors before we get the show started. Neil over at Affordable Solar. Thank you guys. You guys have been a part of the Pit Press since the inception, really from the beginning. So we appreciate you guys sticking by our side through and through. Zach Brandt and Capital Ford of Santa Fe. And Quick Lane, which is associated to all Ford dealerships, the service partner of Ford dealership for New Mexico, and our newest sponsor out of Santa Fe, Southwest Spray Foam and Roofing. We want to thank them for coming on board with Matt Segura. I've known him and his family for a long time, so want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. But one of our special guests joining us tonight, former Lobo from your UNM Lobos men's basketball team. He played for New Mexico from 1982 to 1985, Mr. George Scott. George, thanks for joining us tonight, and welcome back to the Pit Press, man. How you been?
Doing well. Thank you guys for having me. Good to see you and talk to you guys again.
And before we jump into some more hoops talk, I want to just point people that are watching on YouTube. We have a live survey or a live poll going on right now. So go ahead and feel free to drop in a vote. We want to hear from you guys. We want to make sure that we're coming up with content that kind of fits what you guys are looking for. But George, I'm going to start with you. We are going to break down the New Mexico 78-58 win over Wyoming. Not sure if you were at the pit on Saturday, but what was your overall impression of the win over the Cowboys? And then followed up with that, what's your impression with these guys, first year all-in Lobos? What's your take?
Well, first of all, I was in attendance at the game. It was a great game, a tremendous blowout win for us. Regarding my take, I am pleasantly surprised. I am really, really surprised that we are doing as well as we are, considering we have a brand new team, brand new coaches, brand new managers, you name it. I mean, we are way ahead of schedule. I think most people think or thought that it would take us a year or three to get the program to where we appear to be already at in year one, which is, again, I'm pleasantly surprised, and just hoping we can keep this thing going.
Pleasantly surprised. What would you say, or if you could point to just any personnel, any specific player, which one has been the most surprising in your mind?
Two guys, in no particular order. Buljan is a bull. Oh my God, that guy is just amazing. But then again, he is 23 years old, and he plays like a grown man. He doesn't play like a freshman. He plays like a third or fourth year NBA veteran so far. And also Jake Hall. I'm pleasantly surprised by his play, considering I believe he is a true freshman, as I recall, and he is playing well beyond his years. So those two guys primarily. I mean, think about how crazy it is that our leading scorers and our leading rebounder are freshmen. That never happens. Never.
Hey, Ed, he's talking about Buljan. He finished with 25 points, 12 rebounds. Your impression on his performance on Saturday night, but then your kind of overall take of the game and how it shook out.
New Mexico held Wyoming to 58 points. Wyoming was a very high-scoring team. And, to your point about Buljan, he was and George said this, and George, I've been going on with Kenny Thomas twice a week on his radio show, and Kenny mentions Buljan, and we'll talk about him. And it's funny, they established the inside game. They wanted to do that. He had a pretty good game against Boise State. Not many other Lobos did when they played on the road over there. And I think to George's point, he controlled and owned the paint on Saturday night. Second chance points. New Mexico had a lot of them, and he's right there. And did you see the pocket passes inside from Jake Hall? Albury didn't score a lot, but he had 7 assists. So they're finding him in spots. All he's got to do is catch the ball, square up, go up strong, and he did several times. When he's around that paint area, Wyoming didn't have anybody to really ride him out of that lane. So I thought he did a great job. And George mentioned Jake Hall struggled in the first half a little bit, got hot, hit 3 threes in the second half. And once that happened, New Mexico started rolling downhill. I thought Luke Hopp gave him a lot, 8 points or 10 points or around there to 5 rebounds. He's a guy, along with Chris Howell, who's out. They don't venture outside their lanes too much. They do what's required of them. If they're needed to shoot, they shoot. If they're needed to rebound, they rebound. If they're needed to play defense, they do that. And their defense was exceptional. Coach Olin talked about that. 18-2 run to the end of the half. Uriah Tenet got hot. The guy that still perplexes me every game is Antonio Chol. Had a 3. I mean, you see the talent. You see the explosiveness and the athleticism, and I expect more. I think he's going to have a big game here. I really feel it. I do. You see that, again, he's a junior college All-American. They kept saying that on the broadcast. I don't think we've seen the best of him yet, and they still won. So I think, to George's point, a whole new roster, a whole new – and people are impatient here. George knows that. George has been a Lobo fan for a long time. George, I miss your editorials in Sports Speak Up. They don't even run that anymore, man. George, you were good for at least 3 a month, man. And I read every one of them, man. Every single one of them I read. You've been a friend of mine for a long, long time. So I miss those, though, because George is an avid watcher of football and Lobo. He's a Lobo, man. So I think all those things that we mentioned, it's a good win. It's a solid win coming back after a loss to Boise State. They kept saying that on the broadcast, that Wyoming's trying to prevent the Pitt crowd from getting in the game, and they didn't. And once the Pitt and Greg, George, your former teammate and our late friend Greg Brown said the Pitt was worth 10 points before the game even started. And yep. I think that's big. And I think the Pitt. It's again, Dave Bliss would talk about Pitt games. That was another Pitt game on Saturday night. So I thought overall, Eric, was a great performance.
Yep.
Yeah. Good performance and all overall efficient performance from Buljan. All his paint points, 11 for 13 inside the paint. So when he did get the ball in there, man, he didn't miss. But George, I want to pose the next question to you. Kind of just overall halftime adjustments. I think over the last couple games, especially over the last couple wins for the Lobos, they've tended to be a second half team. And you can kind of point to maybe some of the adjustments that Coach Olin has made. But the Lobos went into half this game only up 3 to kind of pull away. And then they outscored Wyoming 44-27 in the second half. What are you seeing from a schematics standpoint for maybe halftime adjustments out of these Lobos? Do you think they're just kind of keying on the right guys, or what do you kind of attribute to that?
I think we're tightening up defensively, playing the passing lanes, not giving up as many open shots. And I think the biggest thing is Buljan in the middle. I mean, he is a load. He is kind of taking games over. That coupled with, and this is to Ed's point, the pit. The power of the pit. Once that building gets going, you can see the fear in the opponent's faces. So I think those two things are a part of the reason why we have been so far a pretty good second half team. Our big guy in the middle and that building, the pit, the power of the pit. Once it gets rocking, there's no place like it in the country.
Yeah, well, second half of tonight's show, we'll be joined by Steve Ivey of Crackers College Hoops. He covers Colorado State Insider exclusively, so happy to join him a little bit later. But Ed, I'm going to hand over the next question to you. I know that coming into this matchup, Nick wrote a really good preview piece on Wyoming. Coach Wicks, Sonny, was rolling 11, 12 deep man rotation, something that the Lobos were going to have to play with. And what we tend to see kind of unfold in this game was UNM's bench was a little bit better than Wyoming's bench. You look at overall bench points, UNM outscores Wyoming 25-17, and a lot of that came from Uriah Tenet, freshman. What was your take on the bench production, and then maybe specifically from the freshman?
I got to say one thing. You mentioned Sundance Wicks. And I just watched the replay today, and, he's got the jacket with the pocket square. And, this guy on every time out is in someone's face yelling about something. And, I'm watching the players' reactions. And, George, you played for Gary Colson. And, right. Gary wasn't a screamer per se. You had Larry Chiat as your assistant, and Coach Chiat would get after it. But Sundance is I love the name, number one. And during the timeout, this guy's just undressing somebody, man. And I'm watching the players to see what their reaction is. And they're pretty much like just looking like, all right, nobody gets mad, because these days you really can't yell at players like that anymore. But he did, But so I enjoyed that part of the game. I always love to see the intensity with coaches. I love that. But to your point about the bench, Leland Walker, he had a great – is it Walker? Is that his name? For Wyoming? Yeah,
Leland Walker. Mm-hmm.
What a rundown block he had of Uriah Tenet. I thought Tenet was going to flush that. And Walker, man, a rundown block. Look, it's the opposing team, but you got to give him credit. When I saw that, I'm like, wow, what a play, man. That guy, and then he had that one bump in the lane, hang in the air, put it up. But he had 6 turnovers. I thought New Mexico did a great job. And you mentioned the bench, Uriah Tenet. To Javis Miller, up and down. He took a couple of shots that weren't close, but he wasn't scared to take those shots. I think that's important. The other guy, JT Rock, they're running him off the elbow, a little dive to the hole, boom, and then in the second half, he hit a 3. Kenny gets so mad when he takes threes, but he made it. Second half, a slam and then a rim rock. We haven't seen him do too much of that. So I think between him and Buljan, they're like, you know what? This paint is ours. I saw JT Rock, like telling Buljan, that's ours. Like I saw it on the bench. And JT Rock is developing more and more confidence with every game. So, you mentioned off the bench. I think he's an important piece. And we mentioned this, and I told this to Kenny last week. And George, the same thing. George, you developed a lot of your post work at Southern Idaho. You mentioned, you played with Ron Beach, the very good friend of ours. And Ronnie was a heck of a player. Once played at Alaska Anchorage, and you played with the former Cibola star Phil Rohr. And people that don't remember Phil Rohr, man, that guy could shoot from 35 feet out, man, 30 feet. You developed a lot of your post game there, George, at Southern Idaho. So when you came here, you were ready, man. You went up against Patrick Ewing. You talked about the power of the pit. There's 18,000 screaming folks when Georgetown's here in 1985. Game I know you'll never forget. But you had practice and reps in developing your post game. JT Rock is starting. He didn't play a lot, and I said this to Kenny on the show last week. George, you know that it takes reps, practice, comfort. Feeling where the defense is and getting your move. You had several different moves you went to, but I think we're seeing that, Eric, with JT Rock more and more every game. The comfort level, and like Daniel Ferris. What does Daniel Ferris say on the radio? Hey, man, you're 7-1. Play like you're 7-1. I love Daniel Ferris because there's no he doesn't stop. In other words, you're supposed to stop the color guy, right? And wait till and he doesn't care. And he doesn't mean it in a bad way. That's just Daniel Ferris. You got to love it. He'll just word stuff out. But I think we're seeing that with JT Rock getting better and better. Uriah Tenet. And again, George mentioned this. Uriah Tenet and Jake Hall are freshmen. Tomislav Buljan is a freshman that played pro in Croatia, man. And you can tell he likes that. He likes to get banged, man. He likes to feel the bang and finish. And so JT Rock is getting better and better every game. So you mentioned the bench. It's shortened still because we don't know where Kevin Patton is, and that's a situation that's still kind of perplexing to me. But I think the bench, what we saw on Saturday, was a great win and preparation for Colorado State tomorrow night.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Colorado State and then just overall league play, George, I'm gonna try to get your take. I'm just gonna kind of hammer this home before we move on, but it's a game of runs, and then you're looking at overall adjustments. It was a tight game at halftime. Olin makes those adjustments, and then UNM puts together a string of runs. They go on a 10-point run, 10-0 run. They go on 2 8-0 runs, and then another 10-0 run to kind of put Wyoming away. But if you were to kind of go back and look at previous games in that matchup at Boise State, we just didn't get that type of production. You're not seeing the stuff that you would typically think you would get out of some of the guys to contribute. If you had to pick one guy out of this roster that you would like to see more out of in terms of point scoring, maybe kind of being more of like a rebounding threat or more of an offensive threat, who do you think has the most room to grow offensively on this team?
That is a great question. If I had to pick one, I would probably say Antonio Chol. He is a physical specimen. I've had a chance to visit with him during football season. I would see him at the football tailgates. I'm 6'6", and I look up to him. He's got to be, 6'8", 6'9". I mean, he is a physical specimen. And as Ed just mentioned, I don't think he's even scratched the surface yet because he's got the body, he's got the length, he's got the touch. He runs the floor like a deer. So I really think we're going to see great things from him going forward. I love his body. He just looks like a basketball player to me.
Well, when do you think that comes to fruition? Because I think that Lobo team could use someone like that now. You just can't wish it to come true, and it just comes true. But you like him to be a little bit more assertive, right? Kind of be more of a downhill player, get to the rim, but he tends to kind of sit around the 3-point line a little bit too much. My opinion, but I'd like to hear yours.
I agree. And there's no time like the present. It'd be great if he could start tomorrow at CSU because, again, with his 6'8" or 6'9" frame, I think he could do a better job of rebounding and a better job of blocking shots or even contesting shots. But maybe he's just still getting used to the pit and still getting used to playing at this level, because I know when I left junior college, there was an adjustment period for me. So maybe he's still used to or getting used to playing in front of large crowds and getting used to playing against good competition night in and night out.
Ed, do you have any questions for Greg before we move on?
No. But I think one of the things that George, if you remember the film we saw on Chol when he came in, you saw him hitting threes,
Yes.
doing what he wanted. And you've been around a lot of basketball players, George. You played with some very good teammates, Hunter Green and Kelvin Scarborough, Phil Smith, some Lobo legends, man. And I played ball, with all those guys, man. And God, those guys. And George, you and I talk about it all the time. I still can't believe Kelvin's not here, man. I still can't believe it. I miss Kelvin so much because great basketball player, but a better human being. He really was. But yeah, so I think to George's point about Antonio Chol, Eric, you asked when will it happen? I just feel it, man. I feel like a big game's coming from that guy, and when it all comes together, because you see a three, that guy can attack the rim. I know it. We saw it early in the year. A couple of rim rockers, and I think he's got it all. He's got the length. George is right. Plus, look at his release. I watched him the other night. He's got a high release. That's unblockable. I just think he hasn't gotten that and they're winning without him doing that. So maybe he feels like, hey, I don't want to take things over because we're doing okay. But I think once it all connects, you're going to see a player that's going to average 10 to 15 a game with some 20, 25-point games. I really do. I think the best is yet to come for him.
Yeah, I think to that point too, and I think right now his around the perimeter with his game, it's a little too predictable. I think if he starts to get some more pump fakes, starts penetrating a little bit more, he starts to make the defense honor that, and they start to create more room, which is going to give him more room to shoot the ball. And he's proven to be effective when he does get open from the 3-point line. I think you just want him to add that element to the game, and I think it kind of adds an element to the team in general because they become more physical. Then you add that slasher effect, which you're kind of seeing that from Albury. It's just Albury doesn't have the 6'9" NBA frame that Chol does.
Right.
But we do have a few comments in here, George, from some of our listeners. Steve Singletary, George, and Rob Lawful were awesome to see. The touch passes were great. Not sure if you have any comments on Rob or maybe some of your old playing days.
Yeah. In fact, Rob passed through town this summer, and we met him for lunch, meaning it was myself, Mike Winters, Hunter, and Nelson France. And we had lunch over at the Frontier on Central Avenue. It was really nice because honestly, I hadn't seen Rob since our playing days back in the 80s. He now lives in Florida. So he was just passing through, and he looked us up. We had lunch at the Frontier, and it was really great going down memory lane and just catching up. We were laughing and talking and lying to each other about how good we used to be, And it was just really, really nice catching up with him and seeing him. Still a great guy, just a super, super nice, down-to-earth guy.
George, real quick, I want to let everybody know that for those that don't remember Rob Leffel, I remember him real well. 7 feet, set some really good picks. 25 points in the WAC championship in 1987, 25 and 13, and I thought that was going to be the turn, for the next season. And that's where Coach Colson was fired and Dave Bliss came in, and Coach Bliss never bought into Rob, never bought into him. I thought kind of didn't let him play. But tell everybody about Rob Leffel as a player.
Rob was a large man. As you mentioned, he was 7 feet tall. I don't think he ever got in tip-top physical shape. I think that was Bliss's problem with him. Rob wasn't as motivated as he should have been, but considering how big he is or was back then, he had great hands, he had great feet, but he just didn't have a very tight basketball-like body. He'd have been a great offensive lineman or defensive tackle in the NFL, I think, with that body. But I think that because he wasn't as motivated as he should have been, turned off Dave Bliss and to a lesser extent, even Gary Colston a little bit, because he used to ride Rob all the time about his work ethic. But again, super nice guy, though. I mean, he would do anything for anybody, but Rob always got by on being the biggest guy on the court. Now, the problem is when you play Division I basketball, there are other 7-footers out there who are in shape and have a great work ethic. And that kind of caught up with him as far as him playing at the next level.
Yeah, great assessment there. Rob did, he had the talent, George, and I think that's the thing that drove people crazy. You'd see him do things. It's like, why can't he do that all the time? And just one more quick comment about Leffel. They asked Bliss. They said that, Rob Leffel had gone to talk to him about not playing. And Bliss's comment, and I still remember it, playing time is not based on conversation. It's based on practice. And that pretty much told you right there. He wasn't going to play, man, because they had Luke Longley at 7'1" and Leffel at 7 feet. So you're like, hey, man, you're not going to play them together because they can't. Rob's not going to be able to get back on defense. Luke wasn't slow, but they're not, gazelles. They're not going to play them together. But you're like, hey, they got 7'2" and 7 feet. We're going to kill them inside. And Coach Bliss just never bought into Leffel, and he didn't play very much at all. Anyway, Eric, sorry about that, man. I just wanted George to tell everybody about Rob Leffel.
Nope. You're good, Ed. Always appreciate the questions and the comments. George, always appreciate you joining us here on the Pit Press too. But we got Steve Ivy waiting backstage for us to talk CSU hoops. I don't want to keep him waiting anymore. But any final thoughts, George, before we let you go on just maybe on Olin, maybe on the team's upside, what kind of rolling out Mountain West play starting? It's the meat of the conference now.
Well, regarding Coach Olin, again, he is way ahead of schedule. I really did not think we would be doing this well this soon. So at this point, as far as I'm concerned, he's playing with house money right now. Of course, we aren't there yet. It's only the first week of January, but I like what I see so far. I think we're going to be fine going forward, and I'm really looking forward to good things from this team, and also specifically Antonio Chol, because again, I think he's going to be the diamond in the rough that's going to explode. Again, once he gets used to playing against top flight competition night in and night out, and also playing against the big crowds, because in junior college, you do not play in front of big crowds. And that was one of my biggest adjustments, is playing in front of, 1,500 people in junior college to the 18,000 in the pit that we used to have back in the 80s. And that is definitely an adjustment period, but he'll be fine.
Yeah. Thanks again for joining us on such short notice. I know that Ed's been talking about bringing you back on the Pit Press for a while now. So really appreciative to you for coming back on, but we'll probably be bugging you down the stretch, checking with you maybe here in a couple games to get your take and see how the Lobo season is starting to shake out. But we will take a quick commercial break. This is Eric Moulton, Ed Nunez, George Scott. You are watching the Pit Press Live.
Time is running out. This is the final drive of 2025 at Capital Ford. It's your last shot of the year to grab massive dealer discounts, year-end factory incentives, and aggressive trade-in offers. Like a new 25 Ford Explorer with 0% APR for 60 months. Or 0% APR for 60 months plus no payments for 90 days on a new 25 Ford F-150. So hurry for these exceptional end-of-year offers during the final drive of 2025 at Capital Ford in
Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. Ed, George is always such a good guest to us. He's always been kind enough to come on and join whenever we ask him. But moving on to the second half of our show, as you can see, we've got another special guest. Always appreciative of this guy to join us here on the Pit Press. And he's pretty active in the Mountain West community and an insider covering Colorado State Rams, Mr. Steve Ivy with Crackers College Hoops. Steve, how you doing tonight, man?
Eric, I am doing great. Ed, Eric, Happy New Year to you. Thanks for having me on. Really looking forward to when you invited me. I was excited to come on, talk about this game, because these are two teams. Obviously, I'm a CSU guy, but these are two teams I really, really like. So I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow.
Yeah, man, it's the most exciting time of the year now. Mountain West Conference play has just started, and you've been a busy guy, man. You've gotten Coach Moser on a couple times on your show. I know that Jeff Grammer has joined you. I know that you kind of got a new segment going with the Neat Clifford Awards. Or you want to tell us what that's about?
Yeah, we're having fun with that, Jeff. This is one of these silly things. You know how Jeff is, and I'm kind of silly too. But a few weeks ago, when the first Mountain West Awards came out for the first, I think after the first conference games, maybe before that. I was shocked that it was right at the end of non-con when Jake Hall had for New Mexico had the really, really good game at VCU where he had like 24 points, and UNM, it was one of the best non-con wins of any Mountain West team, and they didn't give him the Freshman of the Week award from the Mountain West Conference. They gave it to a guy named Naz Meyer. Naz is a good player, but you can't tell me that a 24-point performance at VCU wasn't better than anything that happened that week by a freshman. And within and of course Grammer commented on it too. And I sent a note to Jeff. We had a good laugh last year. Neat Clifford, who was all Mountain West, first-round draft choice by the Sacramento Kings, could never win a Mountain West Conference Player of the Week award. And it was a good laugh the whole season. So I suggested to Jeff, maybe we get together and we do our own awards. And Jeff said, yeah, and we'll call it the Weekly Neek. So we will do a video every week. Right after the Mountain West Awards are announced, and we do our own awards. This week, they actually got it right. They got B.J. Davis from San Diego State, and they got Tomislav Buljan as the Freshman of the Week. But I thought, one of the things I wanted to do was recognize, I think one of the most underestimated games, or just a great game, Buljan. The game against Wyoming, obviously, he dominated, but I don't think people talk enough about what he did up in Boise State in that loss. Show me a guy from a visiting team that's had a double-double up there. No one gets double-digit rebounds against Boise State. They are a rugged rebounding team. And so he had a great week. And I told Jeff, he's my player of the week. I said, he's not a freshman of the week this week. He's my player of the week. And we laughed. And we did that. So Tomislav Buljan won a Weekly Neek today as the Mountain West Conference Player of the Week. But it's fun. We're doing.
Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, Steve, he did. He played. We talk about. You remember Kenny Thomas, the great Lobo.
Absolutely.
So I go on.
So I'm playing an NCAA tournament game in Denver when he was back in the day.
Yeah, well, Tomislav Buljan is what tied up the freshman record set by Kenny and JT Toppin. And Kenny made me laugh, though. He's funny about it because I go on his show twice a week here in Albuquerque, his radio show. And he's like, hey, man, Buljan is 23 years old. I was 18, man, when I did that. We have to laugh about that because Buljan, as you mentioned, and, I think we didn't give him enough credit for that double-double up in Boise State because it was not a pretty game otherwise for the rest of the Lobos. They didn't shoot the ball well, 25% from 3 of 12, didn't shoot the ball. But you're right. I don't know that we looked at it enough. And if you look at his work around the basket recently, Saturday against Boise State, he's getting second shots on Saturday, squaring up to the basket, drawing the fouls, physical, and he likes to get banged. He likes it, and he's putting he's putting the physical. Wyoming's not. They were small, and then JT Rock I thought came in and gave them some good spot minutes. So they're not going to play them together yet, I don't think. JT Rock, I was watching him run, and he's gotten better. There's no doubt about it. But I don't know that he's fleet of foot enough to get back in transition if they're going to use them together. But it's certainly something that they may think about in the next couple of games. But I think back to your point about Buljan, he was so physical on Saturday, 25 and 12, and I think we didn't give him enough credit for that double-double up in Boise because it was such an ugly game, the rest of it. But that one there, he definitely deserves credit.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw it. You might not follow me on social media, but I flew back from Phoenix today after going to the CSU Grand Canyon game, and I arrived at the train to go to baggage claim at the same time that the New Mexico Lobos arrived. And I got to speak with Eric Olin for 5 minutes on the train as we rode to baggage claim, and that was fun. But I got to talk. I said, "Where's Buljan?" I said, "He needs to know he's going to win an award from us." and I got a chance to talk to him. He's a nice kid. But I also I said hello to JT Rock only because JT Rock transferred from Iowa State, and I said, "JT, you had an assistant coach at Iowa State that's a good friend of mine, J.R. Blunt. J.R. had been an assistant at CSU, and we talked a little bit as well. But I had fun. We had fun with Buljan. The other thing, though, and you guys have to stop this. Every time you talk about Buljan, you have to mention he's 23 years old. I think that downplays how good he really is. Yes, he may have an advantage, but remember, it's not easy coming over to play Division I basketball. I don't care what league you play in Europe professionally. We have them at CSU. They're spread out all over the country, and some guys don't do real well. He has happened to grasp on the Olin system. He may be 23, but he's a rookie. He really is. He's a freshman. The second thing is English as a second language coming to the United States. He's really an extraordinary player. And so Olin even mentioned to it when I said, hey, he won the Freshman of the Week, and Olin said, yeah, he should. He's 23. So everybody's doing it. But you know what? Don't keep going there. Focus on the fact that he really is a first-year player and making huge contributions to the league.
Okay, the only I'm going to say, you're not wrong, and we're glad he's here. We're glad, however he's, 23 or whatever. Glad he's here. But let's be honest, you watch a lot of ball. So has Eric. So have I. At 23 years old, with that body, he does have some advantages that other kids don't. We got to be honest about that. That doesn't mean I'm not happy about it or that I'm mad or, I'm just telling you the truth. Because with that body that he has, you see it. It's, it's pretty evident. He's stronger than a lot of kids that are not 23 years old, but that's not a knock. I don't want you to think we're not happy. I'm happy. I hope he stays another 2-3 years. That's just the truth. That's all. That's the truth.
No, well, he's a big boy too. I talked with Grammer about this. I think he's in the program at 6'9" and 240. He's every bit of at least 6'9" and every bit of at least 240. A lot of guys at the college level will overestimate. They'll add an inch or two and add 10 or 20 pounds. He doesn't. He's not lying. He's a big boy.
Well, didn't you guys know that 23 is the new 18? It's the new college wave of college sports now. Add in a COVID year and a junior college transfer year, and you got guys that are 26, 27. So, but enough of that talk. Let's talk some CSU hoops. Steve, CSU is coming off a 70-60 win at Grand Canyon. You were there, so I want to try to get out to Grand Canyon at some point just to kind of experience the atmosphere there in the Mountain West League for the last year of the Mountain West as we knew it. How was the game?
It was fun. First, just in terms of the environment, it is a great environment. It's not a big arena. It's maybe 7,000 seats. But it's very much, Eric, very much like an NBA kind of scene with a lot of the flashing lights, strobes, loud speakers to the point where an old man like me, you can feel it in your heart. You know what I mean? My wife looked at me and said, you could never be a season ticket holder. You wouldn't last for 20 games here. But it's a great experience and the people are nice. It was funny, I talked to Olin. Olin took his team there and played the very first game in that arena against Grand Canyon when he was at UC San Diego. I don't know if you knew that, but I asked him if he had been there. So I thought that was pretty cool. He's looking forward to going back there as well. I would encourage you to go to a game there. The people are real nice. It is a different kind of environment. They have the biggest college pep band I have ever seen. They were big, and they only had about half the people back from break. And I mean, there was they probably have 200 people in their pep band. It's like the size of a football marching band. But getting back to the game, CSU played awfully well. They had come off of two obviously disappointing games to open the Mountain West schedule. They got absolutely smoked at Utah State, came back after Christmas, and played Nevada at home last week and got beat, and it wasn't a good game. The injury thing kind of caught them. If they've been without Rashad Mbemba for most of the season. He's played all of 20 minutes. He was going to be the starting big man. And he played about 10 minutes of one game and about 20 minutes of another, and that's about it. He's been hurt, and we're not sure. I don't know if he's going to be back tomorrow or if it's later in the week. We have no idea. But then the second big who came in as basically his backup, who started and was the leading scorer, Kyle Jorgensen, got hurt at Utah State, and he's going to be out for a little longer. He has a leg injury and was expected to miss 2 to 4 weeks. He'll be back, I think, more likely toward the end of the month. But without those two guys, it meant, CSU went from being really deep at the big position to down to three bigs, 6'8", 230-pound transfer, Augie Kiadulis, 6'10", transfer, Carrie Booth, and then backup returner, Nicola Joppa. Kiadulis started against Nevada and was fine in the first half, and CSU was, it was an even game in the first half, but he struggled in the second half, and so there was low expectations of the game going into Grand Canyon. CSU had no fight against Nevada. They got absolutely murdered. Second chance points, got out, not so much out rebounded, but just gave up wide open free layups on offensive putbacks. It was the whole game they spent doing that, and it was a very disappointing game, and it was unclear what was going to happen at Grand Canyon. Well, Kiadulis showed up. Kiadulis in the week of the few days of practice they had in prep for Grand Canyon went from being kind of a little bit of a disappointment to an absolute beast and performing the way people thought he would. When he first transferred to CSU, everybody thought he might be the best of all the transfers, and was probably going to start ahead of Carrie Booth. Augie had a little bit of a physical issue over the summer and has struggled to come back. And the game against Grand Canyon was the first time we saw the real Augie Kiadulis. So that was the kind of the big difference, and that's what helped CSU to that win over Grand Canyon. But it was a surprise coming off of the game after Nevada. The Nevada game was very bad.
Now, this is still an interesting team, and they still got some guys with a ton of production. You're right, 3 starters right now, still kind of averaging in double figures. You did talk about Carrie Booth. He's been kind of a in-between type player because he does have an outside feel to his game, but he's also athletic, can get to the rim, tough for someone to guard or at least match up with. And then you have guys like Reichsteiner, who's extremely efficient from the outside, and Pasquarelli, who's an elite shooter. Yep. I think he hasn't played great in the last 2 games or something like that, I read, so maybe he's catching some of that downwind. But this is still a team that ranks nationally like number 2 in overall adjusted efficiency, but they play at the lowest adjusted pace in the country. But I think that's very deliberate in the way that they want to play. They get the shots that they want to get. They just move the ball extremely well, and they score efficiently. So, yeah. I mean, even without Jorgensen, I know that you mentioned he was going to be coming back. To me, as a Lobo follower, I feel like this is still a tough spot for the Lobos to be in. And UNM just throughout the whole season has not defended the 3-point line very well. So it's something that they cannot forget about in this game. Can you talk about what CSU's offenses look like even with Jorgensen out? Because, I mean, they're still putting up godly numbers.
Yeah, Eric, it's an interesting thing because the five position, the Mbemba Jorgensen thing. The reason they're so important is they touch the ball. That's where the half court offense is initiated from. It's very much a Princeton style offense with the five handling a lot of the stuff, and they're important in terms of the timing, the passing, the screening on the perimeter. And also it helps if they can shoot from the outside. That's where Jorgensen really excels. He's basically a 45 or 50% shooter from the perimeter. Mbemba, not so much on the outside, but very, very effective on the inside, rolling to the basket. But there's a lot of timing that goes into it, and that's where Kiadoulis struggled against Nevada. He was just off, and the offense was very sluggish. It improved against Grand Canyon, and so that's kind of the critical thing to watch. And when CSU's offense is running well, you talked about deliberate. They may take a lot of time in a possession. That's how people rate tempo based on the length of the possession.
Mm-hmm.
They don't measure it, and I have sent this on to people who are stats guys. Measure how much the ball moves side to side, how little dribbling there is, and how much passing there is. And the ball, when CSU's offense is going, they may take 15 to 20 seconds with the ball in a half court, but that ball is moving. And so it's not a slow pace. It's just measured in terms of how long it takes for them. And they're going to take good shots. They do not take bad shots. They do take open threes. They are very free to shoot open threes. The coach grows a great 3-point shooter, and he runs an offense to create open threes. And if guys are open and they don't take them, he's mad. I want to talk about the way teams have started defending them, and I'm dying to see how New Mexico does it. Utah State saw some things in some of the non-con games where teams were switching every screen, and that has made it very, very hard for guys like Pasquarelli and Rechsteiner to get a three, to get anything from the perimeter. Grand Canyon did not, and Nevada didn't do as much. They ran off of screens pretty well. But a lot of people, and Grand Canyon pushed a lot of their defense to take the threes away from Pasquarelli and Rechsteiner. That's what opened things up for the guys inside, like Muniz, Kiadoulis, and Booth. And so I'm dying to see what happens tomorrow. I'm not sure how much switching Olin does with his defense, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of switching to take that away from CSU and defend the 3-point line that way.
Steve, you mentioned the way Colorado State plays on offense, and a lot of ball movement, free to shoot the threes. Almost sounds like New Mexico, and I thought New Mexico moved the ball very well against spacing. You mentioned space. I thought New Mexico moved the ball very well Saturday night against Wyoming. Got some really good shots. But I wanted to ask you about Ali. I'm not sure the new coach, Ali. How do you say his last name?
Barokmanesh.
What do you think? What's your opinion? His first year there at Fort Collins. What's your opinion of him?
I love him. Ali is great. He's been great with me. Very open. Very friendly to my program and my channel. So, but just he's learning. And I think he's made a couple of, he'll make a mistake here or there, I think, from a coaching perspective. I think the Grand Canyon game, he had the team ready to play, against Grand Canyon. And I'm a great believer that 90% of a game, a coach is done in preparation. 10% is actually game coaching. I thought he only made one mistake against Grand Canyon. That's he left Josh Pasquarelli in with 2 fouls late in the first half, and he drew a third foul, and it meant Pasquarelli had to start the second half on the bench. It didn't hurt CSU in the game on Saturday, but I thought it was a little bit of an error. I thought there were some things he could have done a little better against Nevada. So he's learning and growing in terms of the kind of the management of a game, but he is very much, he's running a lot of stuff that they're doing is the same stuff they did under Coach Medved. A lot of the offense is very, very similar. There are some subtle things that they've added, but it's very, very similar. So he was very much involved with a lot of the offensive coaching with Coach Medved the last few years. So a lot of the offense was his to begin with in the last few years, and this is just an extension. He brought in players from the portal that really, really fit what he's looking to do. And you see it in the 3-point shooting, the field goal percentages. They move like I said, they create a lot of good shots.
You know what? CSU moves on after this year. They'll move to another conference, and this rivalry with New Mexico, so many memories. Kendall Williams, 45 points. I remember that game. Kendall could not miss, man.
I do too.
Oh my gosh.
I talked to him, Ed. I talked to him after that game, and I said, Kendall, I always ask great shooters what the hoop looked like, and he said it looked as big as a swimming pool that day.
I think I remember fadeaways from the corner. I mean, he could not miss. But I go back to Norm Ellenberger, the days, in the rivalry at Colorado State. Any memory? It's a lot of basketball left to be played, but any feelings about the end of this rivalry? Some down the way, but. Any feeling about it? Because CSU and New Mexico have been banging heads in basketball and football for years, decades now.
Yeah, I talked with Eric Olin about that. I said, I hope this is one matchup I would hope we would continue in the non-con, and he was pretty positive. He's pretty good friends with Ali. And I think they'll figure out a way to maybe start doing some home-and-home stuff. I don't know if they'll do it every year for 10 years, but I think we'll see a couple games here, a couple games there. And, the thing that you're always looking for, if you can get home-and-homes with top 75 programs, you're getting quad 1 and quad 2 games every year. And that's the way these two programs are looked like. That's the way they've been the last few years, and that's the way I would expect it to continue. So I hope it continues. It's sad to me. I go back. I can't remember when I came on with you guys earlier in the year. I can't remember if I told you that I had a very close friend I worked with at Hewlett-Packard who played on that 77-78 Lobo team. And
how old was his name?
What's that?
What was his name?
Lee Prolo. He was a freshman. Lee Prolo, a freshman out of Fairview High School in Boulder, Colorado. Very close friend of mine.
Yeah, I remember Lee.
And he used to tell me stories about he said even he, as the 13th guy on the bench, used to get $100 handshakes on the flights. He said the good players got the $500 handshakes. He used to get 100. The Ellenberger days were awesome. Believe me, I'm laughing about it, but everybody knew it was going on, and it didn't matter. It was fun basketball, and he was a damn fun coach.
Well, it's funny. I was just talking to one of my, I work for ProView Networks in Albuquerque, and Steve Davis, the president of ProView, played for Norm, and then he was his graduate assistant. And I got to tell you a funny story. He tells me that his job was to put the projector together, and this is not, the stuff that they use today. It's the old projector, the whir, right? And so he says it starts and the thing falls apart, right? And Norm goes nuts. The bleepity, 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 bleepity. That was a great story. But, you talk about Norm and he mentioned, the larger than life, the turquoise, the tan, the guy owned the town. Norm owned Albuquerque. The only, and I've said this, several times, the only coach that I've ever seen in the pit have his own cheer. Storming in the pit. Storm and Norman bumper stickers. At Ned's restaurant, the Storm and Norman sandwich. I mean, the guy owned Albuquerque, man. He did. He was loved. That was the best part of it. It didn't matter if he was your rival. Everybody loved him. They really did. No, I got to tell you one other funny story is that he for all that what happened with Lobo Gate, and it was bad, right? The program nearly got the death penalty, and Gary Colson came in and revived it. But for all of that, you think people would be very upset. Now more people are dying that don't remember. There's few people here that still remember Norm, still a lot. But for all that, he's still beloved, right? You mentioned people loved him. They're not like, oh man, that Ellenberger, he killed the program. They're like, man, we love Norm. We wish he was back. And of course, he's dead now. But Norm was something else. He really was.
Yeah, and that and that's kind of the joy of these programs. They go back. There's all those stories and everything, and that's what I live for. And I don't know how many more years I have to go, but I don't want to see this thing go away. I have made so many friends from Albuquerque, or there's even people up here who are UNM grads that I've made friends with, and it's just a fun rivalry. I'm going to have lunch with Grammer tomorrow. I'm doing this thing with Grammer. I've gotten to know a lot of other people, and I don't want to see it go away. There's too much history.
Kind of a sad thing. Sorry about that, Eric. Go ahead. Ben, didn't mean to go off the rails there.
No, you're good. I love the conversation. We're good. Steve, I had a question more on basketball talk. I know that we talk about Rex Steiner and Kerry Booth and Pasquarelli, but one player doesn't get a whole lot of mention, but he's averaging 9 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and Javen Muniz. And you talked about kind of just overall ball movement, right? Swinging the ball from side to side, making the defense move. He's almost the catalyst, right? He's the facilitator. He's not going to fill it up, but he's kind of the engine that makes this whole thing go in my mind, and doesn't get tagged as the player that you need to key on because he's not averaging a ton of points, but he impacts the game in so many other ways. Can you talk about his game a little bit?
Yeah, Eric, you're absolutely spot on about being the catalyst. He does a lot of even though he's listed as kind of the third guard, he's kind of he'll come in and he'll play the point. He'll attack from the wing, but he'll initiate a lot of the offense. And so he's the leading assist guy. He's the only guy that's had a double-digit assist game. He had a 10 assist game against South Florida, and some of his passes are really, really good. I will tell you, if he gets the ball in transition, he's really, really good. He's easily the best CSU player in transition. He's not fast. He's not a Dayton Albury that's gonna blow by you, but he's gonna do it with intelligence, and he'll throw a pass out of nowhere and hit somebody wide open. We've seen behind the back passes. We've seen over the top passes. So you're absolutely right. He's not going to shoot a lot. He will finish at the rim. He'll take the occasional three. He's shooting probably 35-40% on his threes. It's not that he's a bad shooter. He just doesn't look to take them. He's really looking to facilitate more than create his own shot.
I mean, those guys matter a lot. I think they matter a lot more. I think when you look at a box score, his name's not going to pop up and stand out, but it's like this team goes because of people like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing, and just to point to it, the way he's being used, he obviously doesn't have the kind of the breadth and depth of the game that Nick Clifford has, but very similar in terms of how Nick was used sometimes on the ball as opposed to off the ball.
Now flipping the game over to the other side of the court, you being a CSU follower, I know that you follow the Mountain West and pretty much every program a part of it, but just what you have seen out of UNM and maybe just some keys to the game from your perspective on how CSU can limit a guy like Jake Hall or limit a guy like Buljan, because let's face the facts, CSU just doesn't have a ton of depth at that 4 or 5 spot, and Buljan is coming off one of his bigger games of the year.
Yeah. I think that'll be a key, how well they can defend and keep him. You're not going to stop him from rebounding. You just don't want to have him absolutely murder you on the offensive glass. And so I think the rebounding thing, and I will say CSU rebounded. They obviously got the talk after the Nevada game because they absolutely dominated Grand Canyon on the glass. They out-rebounded it by 10, and that shocked the heck out of Grand Canyon. They didn't expect to be out-rebounded by CSU. So more of a team effort. You saw other guys helping out, but I think that's key and critical. CSU, Eric, the defense had not been good, and the last few games it's gotten better. And the one disappointing thing about the Nevada game was CSU defended really, really well in the first half. And had they not given up so many easy points on putbacks, and had they not turned the ball over against a press, they probably would have had a 15-point lead against Nevada. I'm not exaggerating that. They went in down 1. They probably should have outscored them by 15 with how well they were defending the first shot. And so I think we're dying to see if we can get it again and again and again. That last year's team gradually got better and the defense got good. This year's team was not good defensively, but they started showing signs of it. Against Nevada and continued against Grand Canyon. So I'm dying to see, and I'm not. Will they get threes? You'll see threes. You'll see UNM get threes, but I don't think it'll be the guys that. I don't think Jake Hall's going to get a lot of open looks. Is kind of what I'm getting at. They'll make sure they are on the shooters more than anything. The guy I'm dying to see, and you were talking about it, is Chol. When you talk about it, you guys describe him, he's very similar to the way Carey Booth has played in the past. Very comfortable on the perimeter, maybe a little less comfortable going to the basket. And Carey's a 45% three-point shooter, but Carey was very unwilling to mix it up in the paint. And as the season has gone on, he's gotten better and better at that. And while he's not the smoothest person in terms of finishing at the rim, he is trying to force his way to the rim a lot more, and he gets to the free throw line pretty well. I'm dying to see if Chol can start making that transition too, because I agree with you. I think he's a good player. So we'll see what happens there. But I think the matchup is going to be good. UNM plays Olin's teams play good defense. I think they'll make it hard. I think they'll figure out a way that obviously I didn't ask him his game plan, but he's a smart enough defensive coach to know he's got to throw off the rhythm of CSU's offense, which means they'll muck it up. They may do some switching on certain players and not on others. I'm sure there's all kinds of things he's going to do. That's going to be the key to the game for New Mexico, is I think just making sure the rhythm goes out of CSU's offense. And then for New Mexico scoring, I would think they're going to want to get the ball in the paint over and over and over again, take the open threes, but I think they're going to get potentially a lot of looks out of the bigs like Buljan.
Yeah, well, UNM has tended to hit some scoring droughts throughout the season. Ed, you can attest to that. But I'm going to look at kind of the pace and the rhythm of this game, right? Just because of the way CSU likes to play, and they're deliberate and they play at a slower pace. And UNM likes to get up and run. They like to push the pace. They like to take shots early in the shot clock. So are they going to try to kind of force CSU to play at their pace? How is UNM going to do if it's a much slower game? CSU likes to convert a lot of their shots. They shoot a high efficiency. So if they're having to bring the ball out of the basket and walk the ball up the floor, how are they going to execute in the half court, which has kind of been the place that they have struggled throughout this season? They like to score when they're getting up and down, not so much in the half court. But Ed, I don't know if you have any takes. I want to get your thoughts in on this too.
No, I think Steve, you mentioned there's a couple of players that they have out. They're a very good shooter. I think you mentioned, how does UNM disrupt CSU's flow on offense? I think the other question goes for that too. I thought UNM's flow and the way they moved the ball on Saturday was very good. I kind of will disagree with you about Jake Hall. I think they will get him looks. I understand CSU's defense is good, but I think Coach Olin will make sure that he gets looks. And they hadn't gone – he struggled in the first half. Then he hit 3 threes in the second. So that got him going a little bit, seeing the ball go in the basket. So I think Colorado State is you mentioned the way they play. It sounds almost like mirror images, the way they move and cut to the ball, and they're gonna shoot their threes. New Mexico's gonna shoot theirs. CSU coming off a good win against Grand Canyon. When they got in the league, I was like, hey, Bryce Drew is one heck of a coach, man. I thought that was a good addition, and I think that's a good win for CSU. They're coming off a nice win. New Mexico's coming off a nice win. Winning on the road isn't easy in this conference. It's not easy at all. Anytime you go on the road, man, you got to be 8 to 10 points better. So I think it's going to be a very nice matchup, and I'm really looking forward to watching it.
Yep, Steve, any final thoughts before we cut you loose? I know that it's getting late, 9:30. We're running about an hour on the show, but we always enjoy having you on, man. You're a breath of fresh air, and always love chopping it up with you.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. Not really any last thoughts. I'm just looking forward to it. You know, the like I said, the Nevada game was so disappointing. And the double digit score, CSU really played poorly, guys. I mean, I can't begin to describe how bad they played that game. And like I said, they should have been up 15 in the first half. I thought Nevada was okay. From what I've seen, I don't. Everybody's saying, "Oh, they're the second best team in the conference." I don't think so. I just think they happened to get CSU when they didn't have they weren't ready to Kia Doulis wasn't ready to play, and we're basically playing with 4 guys on the floor and a short bench. And we'll have a short bench against New Mexico, obviously without Jorgensen and Mbemba, and it'll be a challenge because I think Olin's team is good. I still think they're one of the top. They're one of the top 4 teams, I think, in the Mountain West, and so I think this is going to be a key matchup. Obviously, looking forward to a CSU home win because they still have to go back to the pit. But all in all, this is one game I'm really looking forward to, and I think Lobo fans just enjoy the game. These are 2 good first-year coaches in the Mountain West, 2 good programs, 2 good rosters, and they'll go after it, I think.
I think it's 2 good home environments too.
Yeah.
So, Steve, thanks for joining us tonight. Ed, it's always a pleasure jumping on with you. Ed, do you have any final thoughts before we
No, Steve, you know what? Thanks
close?
again for joining us. Like I said, so many memories of Moby, man. You know, so many memories of watching Mike. We're here listening to Mike Roberts, the great voice of the Lobos for years, and hoping that New Mexico would get a win in the WAC, back in the WAC days, so looking forward to watching. I'm a Lobo diehard, man, so I'm hoping that they'll get a win tomorrow. And they have their hands full, man. But like we mentioned, coming to the gym here at the pit, what a challenge that is for any team. You had 13. It used to be back in the day, 18,000 screaming fans. It's 15 now, 13 on Saturday. But when they get ginned up, man, it's one of the toughest places still to play in the nation, I think. But thanks for coming on. I'm really looking forward to you gave us a good insight on the Rams. Should be a great game.
You bet. Guys, thank you so much. Eric, Ed, it's always a pleasure. You guys do a great job with the pit press, and we'll have to talk again. Maybe we'll both go on after this game. One team's going to win, one team's going to lose, but hopefully 2 long winning streaks coming from these teams. So we'll see you guys. Hopefully talk to you later.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Bet. Bye, guys.
For those watching, appreciate you watching the Pit Press. You have a good evening. For Eric Moulton, Ed Nunez, and Steve Ivey, you've been watching the Pit Press.